Captain Elias Grant had been many things in his life. Soldier, pilot, explorer, and now, by strange twist of fate, a diplomat. But never in his 35 years had he been so nervous as he was when he stood inside the towering crystal hall of the Velari royal court. The hall was vast, glowing with soft blue light from the walls that pulsed like living stone. Tall alien nobles, their slender forms draped in silks that shimmered like liquid metal, stood in silence. Their long, curved ears twitched faintly, and their glowing silver eyes followed Elias's every step. He had been warned. The Velari were proud, ancient, and strict about customs. One mistake could insult an entire empire. Humans were newcomers to the interstellar stage, and this meeting would decide whether Earth gained an ally or made a dangerous enemy. Elias swallowed hard. His translator implant hummed quietly in his ear, but it was old and prone to errors. He had begged for a newer model before being sent, but bureaucracy moved slower than starlight. So now, here he was, hoping it wouldn't betray him in the most important moment of his life. At the far end of the hall sat the Emperor, tall and stern, his crown like branches of starlight. Beside him stood his daughter, Princess Celira. She was unlike the rest. While most Velari were pale, her skin glowed faintly golden, as if the sun itself had left its mark upon her. Her silver eyes were softer, filled with curiosity instead of cold judgment. She seemed younger than the other nobles, though there was an aura of sorrow hidden in her gaze. Elias felt his chest tighten. He had been in firefights, faced down pirate ships, and survived crash landings, but this, walking forward under the gaze of hundreds of aliens, this felt like stepping onto a battlefield without armor. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. "You stand before the royal blood of Valar," the herald declared. "Speak your words, human, and show your respect." Elias's heart thudded. He drew a deep breath, recalling the exact phrase his translator had prepared. "I am honored to meet you, Princess. May peace grow between our people. Simple. Safe. Nothing that could be misunderstood." He bowed low, then lifted his head and spoke. "I adore you, Princess." The words rang out crystal clear, amplified by the hall's strange acoustics. Silence fell. Elias blinked. Wait. That wasn't right. His throat went dry. His implant must have mistranslated. The Velari nobles gasped. Some stepped back in shock. Others whispered furiously. Their expressions twisted between scandal and outrage. Elias's stomach dropped. In their culture, "I adore you" wasn't just affection. He remembered the briefing now, too late. It was a sacred vow, a declaration of eternal devotion, a pledge only spoken in the most binding of unions. Panic surged in his chest. He wanted to correct himself, to shout that it was a mistake, but his mouth refused to move. Every eye in the hall burned into him. He had just proposed in front of the Emperor himself to the Princess of the Velari. The Emperor's face hardened. His fingers twitched on the arm of his throne, and the guards shifted with hands on their blades. But before anything could happen, Princess Celira stepped forward. Her silver eyes widened, not with anger, but with something Elias couldn't name: relief, hope. A faint tremor crossed her lips. Slowly, gracefully, she leaned toward him, her golden glow brushing close enough that he caught the faint scent of starlight and flowers. Then she whispered, so softly only he could hear, "At last." The words struck him like a thunderbolt. At last? He pulled back, confused. What did she mean? Had she been waiting for someone to say this? The court erupted into chaos. Nobles shouted, some crying that the human had insulted the princess, others insisting the prophecy had come true. Elias couldn't understand half of it, but one word kept echoing through the alien tongue, repeated again and again. Prophecy. Celira raised her hand, and the hall fell silent once more. She turned toward the Emperor, her voice clear and steady. "Father," she said, "he has spoken the words. The outsider has declared devotion. The ancient lines are fulfilled." Elias's heart pounded in his ears. What ancient lines? What was happening? He wanted to shout that it was all a mistake, but something in Celira's eyes stopped him. She looked at him not as a stranger, not as a fool, but as if he had just freed her from a long, invisible chain. The Emperor's face twisted with doubt. He glared at Elias, studying him as one might a dangerous animal. "This is nonsense," one of the nobles shouted. "A mistranslation. He is unworthy." Another noble snapped back. The prophecy said the words would come from an outsider, unknowing, unbidden. He is the one. The hall boiled with argument. Elias felt trapped, his palms sweating, his throat dry. He hadn't come here to fulfill prophecies. He had come here to sign a trade deal, maybe shake a few alien hands, then go home to Earth with a nice story. Now he was at the center of something far bigger. Selira turned to him again, her voice gentle yet firm. Do not fear. You have spoken truth even if you did not mean to. Elias opened his mouth, then closed it. He wanted to say, no, this is a mistake. My translator glitched. But when he looked into her silver eyes, shimmering with something he had never seen before, hope, longing, his words died. For the first time since he entered the hall, she looked alive, and for reasons he couldn't explain, a part of him didn't want to take the words back. The Emperor finally rose, his towering frame casting shadows across the chamber. He raised a hand and the argument ceased. This matter is not settled, he declared, his voice rumbling like thunder. The human will remain under royal watch until the truth is known. If he has spoken prophecy, then destiny binds him. If he has spoken foolishness, then his life is forfeit. Elias's stomach sank. Guards stepped forward, their weapons gleaming. But Princess Selira stepped between them and Elias, her slender frame glowing with defiance. No, she said firmly. If he is bound by prophecy, then he is under my protection. None will touch him. Gasps filled the hall. The Emperor's jaw tightened, but he did not stop her. Slowly, the guards lowered their weapons. Selira turned back to Elias. For the first time, she smiled. It was small, fragile, but real. Do not fear, she whispered again. You have spoken the words I have waited my whole life to hear. Elias's mind spun. He hadn't meant any of this. He had stumbled into a trap of fate, prophecy, and alien politics. But as the princess's silver eyes met his, he realized one terrifying truth. There would be no going back. What began as a simple mistranslation had just shaken an empire. The palace guards escorted Captain Elias Grant through a maze of shining corridors. The walls glowed faintly, alive with streams of energy that pulsed like veins of light. Elias kept his eyes forward, though he could feel every noble in the hall still staring at him with suspicion, hatred, or disbelief. What had he done? One wrong word, that was all. One mistranslation, and suddenly half the court wanted him executed, while the other half whispered about prophecy. His escort stopped before a tall, arched doorway. The doors opened soundlessly, revealing a private chamber filled with soft golden light. The air smelled faintly of flowers. It was beautiful, calming, but Elias couldn't relax. He had no idea what would happen to him. Princess Selira stepped inside after him, her long gown brushing the floor like flowing sunlight. The guards bowed and left, sealing the doors behind them. Elias turned to her, his jaw tight. Look, Princess, he began carefully. There's been some kind of mistake. I didn't mean— Selira raised a hand, silencing him. Her silver eyes locked on his with surprising intensity. Do you think I do not know it was an accident? She asked softly. Do you think I cannot see the truth on your face? Elias hesitated. Then, why did you say those words? At last, why defend me in front of your father? Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Because accident or not, you have spoken the words of destiny. And whether you believe or not, fate has chosen you. Elias rubbed his temples. He had survived alien battlefields, but this? He didn't even understand the rules. I don't get it. Destiny? Prophecy? I'm just a soldier who got stuck playing diplomat. Selira's smile faded. She moved toward a crystal window, where the stars stretched like endless rivers beyond the palace. Long before you humans ever walked among the stars, the Velari carried an old prophecy. It spoke of a day when the empire would fall into shadows, when corruption would rot the throne from within. And it said a voice from beyond the stars, an outsider, would speak words of devotion to the air. That vow would awaken a new age. She turned, her golden glow shimmering. For centuries my people have waited. Some believe, some laugh at it. My father, he tolerates it but secretly fears it. And she paused, voice lowering. And I hoped, because without that vow I have no strength to claim what is mine. Elias frowned. You mean the throne? Yes, she said without shame. The court is divided. Many see me as weak, unfit to rule when my father passes. Others whisper of rebellion. My own counselors plot in shadows. But your words, spoken before all, have changed everything. They cannot ignore the prophecy now. Elias let out a harsh laugh. So I've accidentally made myself part of an alien fairy tale. Great, just great. Silira studied him. You are angry. Of course I'm angry, he snapped, then caught himself. He exhaled slowly, forcing calm. Princess, where I come from, words matter. I told you something I didn't mean. Back home we'd call that lying. Her expression softened. And yet you did not lie. Not truly. You may not understand why you said it, but the universe does. Elias shook his head. He wanted to argue, to insist it was nothing more than a glitch in his translator, but a part of him hesitated. Why had she looked so alive when he said it? Why had her whisper sounded like relief, not surprise? Before he could respond, the doors burst open. A tall noble stormed in, his robes shimmering with dark red patterns. His long ears flicked sharply and his silver eyes burned with contempt. Princess, he barked. This human must be punished. His words threatened the stability of the empire. Elias stiffened, instinctively reaching for a weapon he didn't have. Silira stood her ground. Lord Vaynar, she said coldly. You forget yourself. This chamber is private, Vaynar sneered. I forget nothing. You would protect this creature? Already the council whispers that you mean to bind yourself to him. Do you not see how dangerous that is? The people will never accept a human consort. Silira's silver eyes hardened. The people will accept what destiny commands. Vaynar's lips curled. Destiny is an excuse for weakness. Mark me, princess. Your father tolerates this insult for now, but I will not. That human's presence here endangers us all. He turned sharply and stormed out, the doors slamming behind him. Elias exhaled slowly. Friendly guy. Silira's shoulders sank. He is not alone. Many will move against you. Against us. Us? Elias raised an eyebrow. You talk as if I'm already on your side. She stepped closer, her voice quiet but fierce. You are. Whether you admit it or not, you are part of this now. The vow cannot be erased. Elias wanted to argue, but his instincts as a soldier kicked in. He knew danger when he saw it, and Silira was right. Her enemies were now his enemies. He had walked into a nest of vipers, and if he didn't tread carefully, they would kill him before the next sunrise. That night, Elias was given chambers within the palace. He couldn't sleep. His mind raced with questions. Why him? Why humans? Why did the prophecy speak of outsiders? He paced the glowing floor until exhaustion finally pulled him into uneasy dreams. In the morning, he was summoned to the throne room again. The nobles were gathered in a half-circle, their faces masks of disdain. The emperor sat tall, his crown blazing with light. Silira stood at his side, calm but tense. The emperor's voice rumbled. Human, you have spoken dangerous words. Some here call for your death. Others claim you are the one of prophecy. I will not decide hastily. Instead, you will prove yourself. Elias stiffened. Prove myself? How? The emperor gestured. The council will test you. If you are worthy, you live. If not, you die. Murmurs filled the chamber. Elias's fists clenched. He had no choice. Fine, what's the test? A noble stepped forward, smiling thinly. Survival. You will spend 3 days in the Shattered Gardens. Elias frowned. Doesn't sound too bad. A garden. The nobles chuckled darkly. Silira's face tightened with worry. The Shattered Gardens, the noble said, are ruins filled with ancient beasts and traps. Many Vaylari nobles train there. Few return alive. If you are truly chosen, you will survive. Elias's stomach turned cold. This was no test, it was a death sentence. He glanced at Silira. She didn't speak, but her eyes told him everything. This was a trap. The council wanted him gone. The emperor's voice sealed his fate. So it shall be. At sunrise, the human enters the Shattered Gardens. Later, in her private chambers, Silira paced, her golden glow flickering. They mean to kill you. You cannot go. Elias leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Do I look like I have a choice? Your father gave the order. If I refuse, they'll cut me down where I stand. Her silver eyes shimmered with worry. Then at least take this. She handed him a small crystal blade, its edge glowing faintly. It is bonded to me. It will answer to you. Elias took it, feeling its weight. Strange energy pulsed through the hilt as if it recognized him. Thanks, I'll need it. Silira stepped closer, lowering her voice. You are not alone. I will watch from afar. And remember, the prophecy did not bring you here to die. Elias met her gaze. Something in her voice, steady and unshaken, stirred a strange determination in him. He had survived worse. He could survive this. At dawn, he stood before the gates of the shattered gardens. The palace walls loomed behind him, filled with watching nobles eager to see him fail. The gates creaked open, revealing a dark maze of twisted trees, broken towers, and glowing mist. In the distance, something howled. Elias gripped the crystal blade tight. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "All right," he muttered. "Let's see what fate really wants." The gates of the shattered gardens closed behind Elias with a sound like thunder. The heavy stone doors sealed tight, cutting him off from the safety of the palace. For a long moment he simply stood there, gripping the crystal blade Celira had given him, and listened to the silence. The gardens were not gardens in any human sense. They were ruins. Shattered towers of black stone leaning at crooked angles, tangled with vines that glowed faintly green. The air shimmered with strange mist that curled like smoke. In the distance he heard faint growls like predators waiting. 3 days. Elias muttered under his breath. "All I have to do is survive 3 days." He checked his surroundings like a soldier. Broken walls could give cover. Higher ground might help him see threats before they came. He moved carefully, blade in hand, every sense alert. Not long after entering, he found signs of danger. Deep claw marks scratched across the stone. Bloodstains darkened the ground. Something had died here recently, and something else had eaten it. Elias's training kicked in. He crouched low, studied the tracks. Whatever left them had 6 legs and claws the size of his hand. And it wasn't far. He tightened his grip on the blade. "All right, monster. Let's see what you've got." From the mist it came. A beast with scales like obsidian, eyes glowing green, fangs dripping poison. It roared, shaking the broken walls. Any Velari noble would have frozen. But Elias had fought worse on alien battlefields. When the beast lunged, Elias didn't retreat. He rolled aside, came up fast, and drove the crystal blade into its side. The weapon hummed, glowing as if alive, cutting through scale and flesh. The beast screeched and lashed out, claws tearing his jacket, but Elias pressed forward, jabbing again and again until the creature collapsed in a shuddering heap. Breathing hard, Elias pulled the blade free. The glow on its edge pulsed stronger, as if feeding on the victory. He looked up at the misty sky. Day 1. Still alive. From a high balcony in the palace, Princess Celira watched the gardens through a crystal orb. The image inside showed Elias wiping blood from his blade. Her lips curved into a small smile. "You fight like no Velari." No hesitation. No fear. Behind her, a voice spoke coldly. "You should not be watching him, Princess," Celira turned. Lord Vanar stood in the shadows, his red robes dark as dried blood. His silver eyes gleamed with anger. "You plot against me," Celira said calmly. Vanar's lips curled. "I plot for the Empire. That human is a danger." Already whispers spread through the court. Some see him as chosen, others as a threat. Either way, he divides us. When he dies in the gardens, I will see to it the people forget him. And if he does not die, Celira asked softly. Vanar's smile widened. Then I will make sure he does. Back in the gardens, Elias pressed deeper into the ruins. The air grew thicker, the mist glowing brighter. He stayed alert, never resting too long in one place. He built small fires using scraps of broken wood and sparks from his blade. He rationed water from hidden streams. The beasts kept coming. Some flew on wings of bone. Others crawled with too many legs. Each time, Elias fought with grit and quick thinking. He used broken walls to trap them, sharp stones to distract them, fire to scare them. The Velari who trained here fought with honor, skill, and style. Elias fought dirty. He threw sand in a monster's eyes, stabbed low when it expected a high strike, set ambushes with rocks balanced to fall. And each time he survived, the blade glowed brighter. But as dangerous as the beasts were, Elias soon realized they weren't the only threat. On the second night, while crouched by his fire, he heard a sound. Too light for a beast. Too careful for an accident. He rolled aside just as a poisoned dart struck the ground where he had been sitting. Shadows moved. 3 masked figures in noble armor stepped from the mist, blades drawn. So it wasn't enough to leave him to the monsters. The conspirators had sent assassins. "You've got to be kidding me," Elias muttered. The assassins attacked fast, their blades flashing green with venom. Elias blocked the first strike, twisted the second, then slammed his fist into the third's throat. He fought like he always did, messy, brutal, and unpredictable. One assassin lunged. Elias ducked, drove his crystal blade up through the attacker's chest. The weapon blazed, humming like thunder, and the assassin collapsed. The other two hesitated. "Yeah," Elias growled. "Didn't expect me to fight back, did you?" They fled into the mist. Elias didn't chase. He stood over the dead assassin, breathing hard, and realized the truth. The council wanted him gone. Not just tested, erased. And if they were willing to send killers into the gardens, then Salira was in danger too. At dawn, battered and tired, Elias pushed on. He had lost track of time, but his instincts told him he was close to the end. His body ached, but his mind was sharp. He reached a broken tower, its peak shattered. There, carved into the stone, was something strange. Symbols glowing faintly, the same symbols he had seen in the palace. Curious, he touched them. The blade in his hand pulsed, humming in response. The tower lit up, and for a moment, Elias saw visions, shadows of Velari history, wars, betrayals, and always the same image, a golden figure beside a stranger from beyond the stars. The prophecy, it was real. Before he could think, the ground shook. From the ruins below, the largest beast yet rose, towering, horned, scales like black fire. Its roar shook the sky. Elias stared. Of course. Boss fight, the beast charged. Elias ran, dodging as claws shattered stone around him. He leapt from rubble to rubble, striking when he could, but the monster was too strong. The blade sang in his hands, but even its glow struggled to cut deep. He fought with everything he had, dodging, rolling, stabbing, screaming with effort. At last he saw his chance. The beast reared back, exposing its chest. Elias charged, driving the blade deep into its heart. The weapon exploded with light, blasting the beast apart in a wave of energy. Elias was thrown back, landing hard on the stones. When the smoke cleared, the monster was gone. Only silence remained. Elias groaned, dragging himself to his feet. His clothes were torn, his body bruised, but he was alive. The blade in his hand shone brighter than ever, its glow steady and strong. 3 days, he muttered. Still breathing. High above, the nobles watched through their crystal orbs. Gasps filled the hall as they saw Elias standing over the ruins of the beast. He survived. He killed the guardian. The prophecy? The Emperor's eyes narrowed. He said nothing, but his jaw tightened. Salira's lips curved into a triumphant smile. Lord Vaynar, hidden in the shadows, clenched his fists. His plans had failed, but his hatred had not. When the gates of the gardens opened, Elias staggered out, bloodied but unbroken. The court watched in silence. The Emperor studied him with unreadable eyes. Elias lifted the glowing blade. 3 days. I'm still here. Salira stepped forward, her golden light bathing him. She looked at him with pride, relief, and something deeper. You are chosen, she said softly. The court erupted into chaos once more. Shouts, arguments, cries of prophecy. But Elias only saw her. And though he didn't fully understand it yet, he knew one thing. The mistake that had dragged him into this was no mistake at all. The palace, which had seemed majestic and serene, was now a hive of tension. Whispered plots slid like shadows through the corridors. Lord Vaynar and his allies had grown bold, and every noble who had doubted Elias's survival now doubted his loyalty. Captain Elias Grant stood in the private chambers of Princess Salira, catching his breath. The glow of his crystal blade reflected off the golden walls. His body ached from the shattered gardens, but he had learned something invaluable. Humans survived because they adapted. They improvised. They did not follow predictable rules. Salira's golden glow bathed the room as she stepped closer. They will strike tonight, she said softly. The council has decided. They will try to take the throne while my father sleeps. Elias wiped sweat from his brow. And they think brute force will work? He shook his head. These aliens underestimate humans. You must help me, she whispered. Not just survive this night, but save the Empire. Elias's jaw tightened. Then we do it smart. No fighting like they expect. Salira nodded. I trust you. As the sun set over the city, the palace gates creaked open silently. Shadows moved with precision. Velari nobles loyal to Vaynar crept through secret passages, armed with energy weapons and poisoned blades. Their plan was simple: seize the throne, capture or kill the princess, and blame any failure on Elias. They were wrong. Elias had spent 3 days studying the palace layout, noting weak points, hidden corridors, and vantage points. Unlike the Velari, Humans didn't rely on ritual or honor. They relied on strategy, improvisation, and unpredictability. When the first group of assassins entered the main hall, Elias was already waiting. He stepped from the shadows, blade glowing. A human battle cry tore from his throat. The Veilari froze for a fraction of a second, enough time for Elias to strike. He rolled under a sweeping blow, stabbed upward at an attacker's legs, and used their momentum to throw them into the wall. Sparks flew as energy blades clashed, and the hall erupted in chaos. Salira's voice rang out, clear and commanding. "Guards, protect the throne!" Her orders were efficient but hesitant. The palace guards had never fought like this before. Elias shouted instructions, guiding them, showing them human ways to fight. Ambushes, flanking, traps. Within minutes, the tide of the battle began to shift. The Veilari nobles were trained warriors, yes. But they had one weakness, rigidity. They expected rules, predictability. Elias thrived in chaos. He ducked as a glowing sword swung at him, then countered, driving his crystal blade into the attacker's chest. The weapon hummed with energy, sending the Veilari flying backward. "Keep moving," he shouted. "Do not let them surround you." Meanwhile, Princess Salira took command of the palace. Though young, she had inherited the instincts of generations of rulers. She moved like a conductor, guiding guards and servants alike, keeping them alive while Elias handled the front lines. Together, they became a force that none of the conspirators had expected. A human and an alien princess fighting in unison. Elias noticed the subtle ways Salira fought. She didn't wield a weapon like the nobles. She used strategy, foresight, and intuition. They complemented each other perfectly. "Watch the left corridor," Elias barked. "Two coming through." Salira's guards intercepted them, giving Elias space to strike again. Every step he took was measured, every attack precise. He moved like a predator, taking advantage of every flaw in the enemy's formation. Lord Vaynar watched from a balcony above, anger etched into his sharp features. His plan was unraveling. "Fools," he hissed. "All of you. Kill the princess. Kill the human." But his words fell into chaos. Every noble under his command hesitated. The human's fighting style was strange, unpredictable, effective. And then, Elias did something unexpected. He triggered a small device he had picked up from the palace's engineering wing earlier that day. A simple human invention, a smoke bomb. Clouds of thick colored smoke filled the main hall, blinding the attackers. While they coughed and waved their hands, Elias and the palace guards slipped through secret passages, flanking the conspirators. By the time the smoke cleared, half of Vaynar's forces lay disarmed or unconscious. The others had retreated, bewildered and defeated. In the throne room, the Emperor had awakened to the sound of battle. His eyes widened in disbelief as he saw Elias standing at the head of his loyal guards, the glowing crystal blade in hand, the princess safe behind him. "You," the Emperor said, voice trembling. "You have survived, and—" His gaze shifted to Salira. "You have led your people." Salira stepped forward, her posture regal despite exhaustion. "Father, the council has betrayed you." Lord Vaynar attempted a coup. Elias fought to protect the throne, to protect me, to protect the Empire. The Emperor's gaze fell on Elias. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he spoke slowly, deliberately. "You are remarkable. Not just for surviving the gardens, not just for fighting the conspirators, but for showing the strength of a human." Elias felt his chest tighten. He had done it. Against impossible odds, he had not only survived, he had defended the princess and the throne. Vaynar, captured and bound by his own guards, glared at Elias with fury. This is impossible," Elias smirked, wiping blood from his blade. "Never underestimate humans. That's rule number 1. After the battle, the palace was quiet again. Guards and servants moved to clean the damage. The nobles who had supported the coup were imprisoned. Those who had stayed loyal looked at Elias with awe and fear. Humans were small, yes, but unpredictable, dangerous, unstoppable when cornered. Salira approached Elias. Her golden glow was faint, but her eyes shone brightly. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said softly. "Tonight you have proven yourself to me and to everyone who doubted you." Elias shook his head, smiling tiredly. "I just did what any human would do. Survive, protect, improvise." She placed her hand lightly on his arm. "And yet that is enough. You are part of my life now, part of this empire. Do you understand? Elias felt a strange warmth at her touch. Yeah, I think I do. Celira's smile deepened. Good, because this is only the beginning. Later, as the palace settled into uneasy calm, Elias walked the battlements, staring at the stars above. He thought of Earth, of home, of everything he had left behind, but he also thought of Celira, of the trust she had given him and of the impossible battle they had just won together. A part of him understood something he had not before. Humans had a strange gift. They survived because they adapted, because they fought when others hesitated, because they never gave up. And in this galaxy of rigid rules and ancient customs, that gift was powerful. Below, the city slept. The council had been crushed, the conspirators captured. The throne was safe for now. But Elias knew that in the Velari Empire, danger would never fully disappear. Celira appeared at his side, leaning lightly on the battlement. You think you've won, she said softly, but there are more who would see the Empire fall. We must be ready. Elias smiled faintly. Then we fight, together. She looked at him, and for a moment the world narrowed to just the two of them. Her silver eyes met his, and the words she had whispered before echoed again. At last. This time Elias understood. It was not a prophecy for the throne alone. It was a promise for courage, for partnership, for survival, for humans and Velari alike. The palace had finally fallen silent. The last of Lord Vaynar's loyalists had been captured, their plots exposed, and their plans destroyed. The Velari Empire, shaken to its core, now looked at humans, and at Captain Elias Grant differently. Elias stood in the throne room beside Princess Celira. The soft glow of her golden light filled the space, blending with the sharp blue shimmer of his crystal blade. It had been a long journey. 3 days of deadly trials in the Shattered Gardens, a night of palace warfare, and countless moments of tension and fear. And yet here he was. Celira turned to the gathered nobles. Her voice rang with authority and confidence, the kind that commanded respect without fear. The throne is mine. The Empire stands. And this human, Elias Grant, has proven his worth. Not because he is strong or because he is loyal only to me, but because he has shown courage, ingenuity, and the strength to survive where others would have fallen. Murmurs rippled through the nobles, some whispered in shock, others in awe. Humans had long been underestimated. Now the Empire saw what one human could accomplish when pushed beyond all limits. Elias felt a hand on his arm. He looked down to see Celira smiling at him. Her silver eyes were soft, warm, and full of gratitude. You saved more than my life tonight, she said. You saved my empire and perhaps even the future of our people. He chuckled, though it was tired. I just did what humans do. We survive, we fight. We figure things out. Celira shook her head gently. And that is why you are remarkable. Even the oldest nobles could not have imagined a human standing beside the throne like this. Later, the emperor entered the throne room. His expression was grave but tinged with a rare admiration. Captain Elias Grant, he began, his voice echoing through the chamber. You have done what no Velari has done before. You survived the Shattered Gardens. You defeated conspirators who were trained for decades, and you have shown strength, intelligence, and courage beyond measure. You are extraordinary. Elias bowed lightly. I only did what I could, Your Majesty. The Emperor studied him for a long moment. Extraordinary is not enough. You have earned a place in our history, perhaps more than a place. Humans have long been considered minor players among the stars. Yet, through your actions, you have shown that even the smallest can shape the fate of empires. Elias felt a swell of pride, but he shook his head. I don't need titles or praise. I only want to see the Empire safe and the princess safe. The Emperor's gaze softened. And you shall have both. You have earned that much at least. The court's perception of humans began to shift almost immediately. Rumors spread across the palace and beyond. Stories of a human who survived the deadly Shattered Gardens, defeated trained nobles, and protected the royal heir circulated through the Empire. Other alien civilizations took notice too. Ambassadors from distant worlds sent cautious messages inviting humanity to speak, to trade, or even to form alliances. The galaxy had underestimated humans, and now it had been forced to reckon with them. Elias watched the messages arrive on his device, a small, battered console he had carried through the Shattered Gardens. He couldn't help but grin. For all their talk of ancient empires, rituals, and rigid rules, humans had something no alien civilization seemed to anticipate: adaptability, ingenuity, fearless determination. Celira approached him as he studied the messages. "Do you see?" she asked softly. "You've changed the galaxy's view of humans in just a few days." Elias rubbed the back of his neck, smiling faintly. "It feels strange. One day I was just a soldier. Now apparently I'm a symbol of human strength." She laughed lightly. "A symbol, yes, but more importantly, a partner. You and we share this. You saved me. I will not forget that." Elias felt a strange warmth at her words. "I didn't do it alone. You guided me too. If we hadn't worked together—" He shook his head. "It wouldn't have ended well." Celira's eyes softened. "It did end well, and we will face the future together. The Empire will remember this night and your part in it for generations." The following days were filled with ceremonies, celebrations, and careful restructuring of the palace's power. Those who had supported Venar were banished or imprisoned. Loyal nobles were rewarded. And Elias remained at Celira's side. Though he refused formal titles, he was recognized as a guardian, a strategist, and a symbol of human resilience. Wherever he went in the palace, whispers followed. The human who survived the gardens, the one who saved the princess, the human who changed the empire. Even the youngest palace pages spoke of him in awe, mimicking his stance with imaginary swords. Elias smiled at them, though he shook his head. "Don't glorify humans too much," he said. "We get in trouble that way." Celira laughed softly beside him. "You have earned your place. Accept it." One evening, after the formalities had ended, Celira invited Elias to walk with her along the palace's highest terrace. The city below glimmered with light, a mix of alien architecture and soft golden glow. Stars stretched above like rivers of silver. Elias leaned on the railing, looking out at the endless expanse. "It's beautiful," he said quietly. "Makes Earth feel small." Celira stepped beside him. "Yet you have made it large here. In this galaxy, humans are no longer minor players. You showed that the impossible is possible." Elias glanced at her. "And you? You've shown me that even in the strangest places, people, aliens or humans, have the same fears, the same hopes." She smiled, her golden glow reflecting softly in his eyes. "Perhaps that is why destiny chose us." Elias felt a strange sense of peace. The weight of prophecy, danger, and politics seemed lighter now. The Empire was safe, the conspirators defeated, and humans had a new place among the stars. Celira leaned closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper just for him. "At last." Elias's lips curved into a faint smile. "At last," he echoed. It was no longer just a prophecy. It was a promise of trust, of courage, of unity between human and Velari, and of a future that neither could face alone but together. In the days that followed, Earth received word of humanity's new role in the stars. Scientists, diplomats, and leaders all marveled at the reports. A single human had survived impossible trials, defeated alien conspirators, and stood beside a galactic princess. Humanity's reputation shifted overnight. Humans were no longer seen as minor players. They were capable, strong, adaptable, and now, respected. Elias watched the news with quiet satisfaction. He had never wanted fame or glory. He had only wanted to survive, to protect, to do the right thing. Yet, in the process, he had changed the galaxy, and he knew deep down that more challenges would come. But humans, he realized, were always ready to meet the impossible head-on. Celira came to stand beside him again, resting her hand on his arm. "The Empire will remember this night," she said, "and they will remember you." Elias looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of the universe in a way he never had before. "Then let them remember," he said quietly. "But let them also remember this: humans survive, we adapt, and we never give up." Celira smiled, leaning close. "Then let the galaxy watch, Captain Elias Grant. Let them see what humans are truly capable of." And together, they stood on the terrace side by side, looking out over the empire they had defended, the future they would shape, and the stars that now held humanity's name in a new light. The prophecy had been fulfilled. The empire was safe. Humans had earned respect across the stars. And for Elias, the journey had only just begun. Above them, the stars glittered, infinite and eternal, And in that quiet brilliance, one human and one princess knew they had changed everything. At last, Silira whispered. At last, Elias echoed.